Good afternoon and welcome to the Africam Show. My name is James Hendry, and the reason I sound a little bit stressed out and as though I might bash myself on the head purposely is that the roof outside is being redone, and so if you hear some banging, it is not me doing DIY inside, but some workers doing some roof fixing outside, and my apologies therefore. Please do talk to us during the course of this show. You can send us any questions that you'd like to. It'd be lovely to hear from you during the course of our live Africam show, where we go from the cameras, or we go to look at the live cameras that we have stationed around Southern Africa and see what creatures nature has given us to enjoy over the course of the next half an hour. We've begun the show here at Camphus Dam, which is just near Kimberley in South Africa. And we're having a look at the great plethora of birds that they have there. What I can see so far is a number of red-knobbed coots, a collection of white-faced whistling ducks. Is that correct? Difficult to say. I know there are some shell ducks knocking around there somewhere. And so we've got a really nice collection of waterfowl. Great banging. Please, I'm so sorry for it, but there's nothing I can do about it. For some reason, the chaps fixing the chaps fixing the the roof didn't really care that I had a live show going on today. Right, so the female shell duck actually looks like a white-faced whistling duck, in so much as she has a white face. And so, yes, those are shell ducks. Female with the, there we go, that's a nice example. If the zoomie can pause there, the wonderful zoomie. The male looking is cleaning his wing there, and the female there cleaning her wing as well. I'm not actually sure if there are any white-faced whistling ducks. They might all be shell ducks. That's really quite nice. I've never seen them in the same proximity as each other. It's always nice to have a new experience, I feel. And the Africam cameras give one the chance to have a virtual new wilderness experience almost on a daily basis. Righty. Now, the country, South Africa, and indeed the region, Southern Africa, is in the grips of the new spring. Unless you happen to live in the lamentable parts of the Western Cape where winter seems to have just arrived, such as Cape Town. The rest of the country is now coming out of winter, and we've got some really nice weather. And in the northern parts of the country, you'll have some chilly nights and some warm days and a lot of drying out of the landscape. So as the temperatures increase, the rains, the summer rains have yet to come and probably won't come for a good few months yet. And so you have an increasing period of heat and dry, and that means that the waterholes are sites of huge action at this time of the year, particularly in the hotter parts of the country. And so this is a really good time. If you're ever going to come on safari, this is a great time to come on safari, because everything has to go down to the waterholes to use what remains. And all of our Africam cameras, I'm just trying to think if there are any other than the Black Eagle camera which are not situated at waterholes, and I don't think there are any other than the one at the Olifants River, which is of course at a permanent waterhole. So there's going to be lots of action over the next little while. Okay, so let's go from the red-knobbed coots across to the shell ducks across to, I think we've got some elephants lurking about, which will be quite nice. While we decide whether we're going to go there, I'll just say hello to Geert in the Netherlands. Hello, good day, a day full of expectation. Good, Geert. Bluebird, hello from Texas. Only a few minutes to spare, but look forward to it. Oh, good. Thank you, Bluebird. Bob from Kalamazoo, good day. Apparently people can't hear the banging. That's good. People can't hear it, the banging. That's fantastic. Lisa White, good day to you. Hello. Cindy Drake, are the flamingos gone? No, Cindy, there were flamingos there earlier. I'm sure they're still around. I just think the camera wasn't zoomed into them. And Kathy, hello from Colorado. Now, we are going to have a look at the elephants which are at Tau. And this is an excellent example of what I was just saying there. The water is drying out and the heat is growing, and that means water-dependent species such as these elephants are going to spend increasing amounts of time at the limited water supply points that there are in these various reserves, and we're going to have a lot of sightings of things like elephants, and then we'll possibly have quite a lot of conflict at the water holes as competition for water increases. There's all elephants making that noise. I'm not sure, it doesn't look like it's those ones in picture that are making the noise. There we go. I think it's probably that cow there, yeah. And again, I mention this just about every week, but you'll see a lot of these cows are tuskless, and that is because they come from the Addo region of the Eastern Cape of Southern Africa, which is a region known for its tuskless elephant cows. And all around you can see there that although I've talked about spring, the colors of spring really don't come out in the northern and eastern parts of the country until the first rains come. You will see a bit of leaf flushing, but on the ground the grass won't start to grow until we get some good rain. And there'll probably be 1 or 2 decent showers between now and November when the rainy season proper begins. Hello, Sarah from Kazakhstan. Nice to have you with us again. Stephanie, good morning from Virginia, USA. Hello. Hope the roof isn't leaking on you. Thankfully, it is not leaking on me for 2 reasons, Stephanie. 1, as I said, there is no rain just yet. And 2, we live on the ground floor, and it is the poor suckers above us that are going to have the elements raining down on them, or hailing down on them, or just shining down on them for the next couple of weeks. There's a lovely view there of a dry season landscape, what I always like to refer to as the business end of the dry season. That's what we've reached now, and that's a really good impression of what you're going to see in a lot of South Africa's favoured wildlife areas. You're going to see browns and bronzes and golds, all of them fading slowly to grey until the first rains come, when there'll be a huge flush of green. And between Kimberley and Tau, I would suspect that Kimberley's probably got, or Camphus, has probably got a slightly lower rainfall than Tau. Tau won't have a lot, probably around about 450 millimeters of rain a year. Kimberley maybe 350. I mean, I stand to be corrected there. So they're very similar kinds of rainfall areas. Kimberley much closer to the Kalahari, which will receive less than 200 millimeters of rain a year. If you happen to live in the 17th century and are still operating on imperial measure, I'm going to leave you to work that out for yourself, because the banging outside my window has stopped my brain's ability to do mathematics. And the mud that these elephants are throwing all over themselves is also indicative of the increasing temperatures. So the elephants like to use the mud. It helps them to cool down. You'll hear people tell you that it helps with ectoparasites. It might, a little bit. I don't think it's a massive thing, that. You know, I don't think the mud on elephants plays a particularly huge role in getting rid of ectoparasites. I definitely think they enjoy the cooth that it provides, however. The other things in this picture, we have got an impala off to the left, wandering out of frame. We've got another red-knobbed coot. You should say that at least 4 or 5 times a day if you want to be happy. There is the ever-faithful blacksmith lapwing and the ever-irritating and yet faithful Egyptian goose. Yeah, that's a really quintessential scene for this time of the year in Southern Africa. All right, let's go back to Camphus Dam and have a look and see what birds are still there. A nice question from Bob. Is Camphus Dam a fenced reserve? As far as I am aware, yes, Camphus is a fenced reserve, Bob, from Kalamazoo. It's not part of a transfront or sort of larger ecosystem, a larger conservation area. So yes, I think it is fenced. Those are Springbok, the national animal of South Africa. And again, you can see those subtle honeys and gold and bronze colors, which will become even more subtle as the heat builds before the rains come. And this landscape becomes almost unrecognizable with green. Now, this time of the year, it is going to start to get hot, and the Springbok's various adaptations are particularly useful. And you will see that they have all orientated themselves, quite nice actually, they've all orientated themselves with that quite bit of mantle on their backsides facing the sun. I don't know if you can see that. They certainly were like that, except for the ones lying down. And that white mantle on the back there, they can extend, and they do that to display to each other, and they also do it in order to reflect the light. So they'll turn their backsides towards the sun during the heat of the day. They'll erect the white, it's not really a mantle's on the back, but it's a white flash of thick fur that extends from the backside there up over the loin region of the Springbok, and that will reflect the light and help them to stay cool, while that dark chocolatey patch on the flank will help to radiate heat from the body in the hottest parts of the day. So the Springbok's colors are really a rather clever design. Gigi, you say, do Springbok rut like impala rams do? They do rut, they do fight with each other. They don't make the same roaring noise, they make a sort of grunting noise. But yes, they do fight with each other in much the same way that impala do. I'm not actually sure if I think they maintain a harem for longer than impala rams would. And, you know, when conditions are favorable, they'll actually breed twice a year. And that's probably because when conditions are not favorable, they won't breed at all. Kathy in Colorado, you want to know why the goose is irritating. The goose I find slightly irritating because they make such an incredible noise. But they are always, I say irritating. If you happen to be trying to have a conversation in close proximity with a goose, they can be irritating. But where I live in Johannesburg, whenever I hear an Egyptian goose, because they actually survive in urban areas quite well, it's always a nice reminder of the wilderness. So I say irritating with my tongue firmly in my cheek. Zygote, you say you hear a little grebe. I think I did hear a little grebe. I can't hear one now. A lot of people asking questions about the reserve at Camphis, which I'm currently unable to answer. Are there any big predators at Camphis? No Name, that's the person who asked this. Her name is No Name. I don't think there are any big predators there, no. You'll probably find that there are leopards. I don't think that there are any spotted hyenas, wild dogs, cheetahs, or lions there. But I think you'll probably find the odd leopard every so often. Although I'm not sure we've seen one on the camera. And then, well, as my wife has very kindly pointed out to me, otters and mongoose are the predators there. We did see an otter there, of course. Wonderful predator that they find in that area. I say leopards just on the assumption that anywhere where they're not persecuted, leopards will generally manage to survive. Yeah, you can see this rather beautifully orientated their white buttocks to the sun once more. Except they haven't, have they? They've got their faces into the sun because the sun's going down behind the camera. So the Springbok are making me look like a fool. Thank you for that, Springbok. So what you'd expect them to do when it gets really hot is turn around and then erect that white bit of fur that extends up onto the backside. I've just realized that, of course, they are facing directly into the sun. Okay, we're going to go now about 1,000 kilometers to the east of where the Springbok are happy grazing, onto the banks of the Sabi River. where Kruger Shalati is. Kruger Shalati is the train hotel that goes on the bridge over the Sabi River. It's such a fun place to stay. If you're ever in this area, we can go there. Or you can go there. Not we can go there, you can go there. I won't come with you. You should take somebody you're romantically inclined to go with. Oh, no, apparently we're not going to go there. The elephants have disappeared from there. There were some elephants. Now they've gone into the Sabi Sands. So we're going to stay staring at the backside of a Springbok. Two backsides. There you can see, well, quickly, you can see the one on the left there has got its little white patch up. That's great. Okay, that was interesting. This particular picture is not very interesting at all. In fact, it shows us the outskirts of Kimberley, which is not a place you would visit because you found it scenically attractive. It is a place you would visit for history. This is, of course, where diamonds in South Africa were found and extracted, and where I think the De Beers company began what can only be described, or began their, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, began selling diamonds, let's just say that. Some very charming little buildings there that you can go and see, but otherwise it's not a place of enormously attractive scenery. Camera, for I am unable to identify that bush, nor am I able to. Fantastic. Those I can identify. Those are elephants. And they are on the banks of the Sabi River at Kruger Shalati, which is just outside Skukuza on the border of the Sabi Sands Private Game Reserve. And you can see them. This is very typical, again, for this time of year. The animals are going to come down onto the rivers, and they're going to consume the vegetation there because it's greener, it's more nutritious, and there's water in close proximity. And this particularly applies to elephants. And you can see immediately, I know that we're on the banks of a river here, but even away from the river, you can see there's just a bit more green in the Kruger. It's not a high rainfall area by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely wetter than the Northwest Province where Tau is, and than the Northern Cape where Kimberley is. So that's quite nice. Just a man climbing up the wall outside my window, which was quite disturbing until I remembered that he was fixing the roof. Oh, and there's somebody arriving at the river. I'm sure they're enjoying their drive through the Kruger. That always makes me feel a little bit like I want to be on holiday. In fact, very like I want to be on holiday right there. Sorry about the lack of sound. I think we will be addressing that at some stage. There's a bus full of very happy punters going through the Kruger Park. They obviously missed these elephants. Bad luck. Linda Purley. Hello, Linda Purley. The only bird calls I can identify are the blacksmith lapwing and the grey go-away bird. Lol. Those are two good birds, Linda, and if you came out here, you'd probably learn a whole lot more. Janet Carroll, you can definitely identify the call of the Egyptian goose. Yes, the Egyptian goose certainly makes a very loud noise and can do it for a lengthy period. They're not shy to shout the odds at each other and anything else that happens to be in the vicinity. Very successful birds they are, the Egyptian goose. And this lot just calmly feeding. The one on the right seems to be eating some kind of gymnosporia bush, probably a red spike thorn, and the ones on the left as well. This time of year is kind of where they would be feeding on these trees, which would often during the summer months be so full of tannins that they'd be really pretty unpalatable. Okay, we're going to skip away from these elephants and we're going to go across to I think a couple of other elephants at Tau, which would be quite nice. And while we cut across, I'm just going to say to you, you will see there's a lot of wind there. In the last few years, certainly last year, a huge amount of wind in the Lowveld, which I do not remember from my almost 2 decades working in that area. So whether that has to do with climate change or just some sort of shift for the last few years, I'm not sure. But it's almost coastal at this time of year now. The wind does blow quite hard. So now you can see the juxtaposition of the different landscapes, and this is the Northwest Province. So a lot further west, similar latitude, probably a little bit further north than the Kruger landscape. But you can see much less rainfall. None of the trees have got any green on them, even the trees up onto those picturesque hills in the background. And off the elephants go to find meager dinner the dry season landscape can offer them. Guinea fowls there. Oh, and a zebra. Very nice. Hello, zebra. Coming down to have a now the left. To impalas. This will be, I may have said this before, probably the sort of limit of where impala are found and where their ecological role is taken over by the more dry tolerant Springbok. So it's not really a surprise that you'd find the impala here, and then just slightly further to the west where it's a little bit dry, you'll find the Springbok taking over. They don't occur normally together. I say normally, they do occur on lots of reserves together where they've been introduced together, but there'd be a small overlap, but largely one replaces the other as soon as it gets too dry. There was a Franklin there as well, or a spurfowl, looked like a Swainson spurfowl, but I could be incorrect there. Nice. And I'm just saying I'm just seeing here that we do see Springbok at Tau. Now remember that Tau is in the name's gone from my head now. Madikwe Game Reserve, which is a stocked game reserve. So yes, like I was saying, where you do find that people have stocked both animals. I would be surprised. I mean, yeah, like I say, this is probably the sort of right rainfall for where the one would replace the other. So you would expect possibly, even if there wasn't a protected area there, and there was a large sort of area of unfenced wildlife land, you may well find them both in this particular area together. But I think as soon as there's enough water, the impala will outcompete just about anything else. Nice. Now we're going to just quickly nip across before they disappear. We're going to try and go across to Campus again, because I think there's some hartebeest there. And I'm just going to look something up while we cut across there, because there are so many different types of hartebeest subspecies. And I just want to give you, I learned of a new one yesterday. I'm just going to try and give you a list of them, because it's really quite interesting, I think. You might not find it interesting, but I certainly do. There are the red, now that is the red hartebeest. They're a very strange looking creature. And whenever I see one when I'm on a safari with guests, or when I see one here, I say, oh, there's a hartebeest, and I almost immediately then run out of things to say about them. And that's because they don't do anything particularly outlandish, but they're interesting looking, and like I say, there are lots of different kinds of them. The one at the back is obviously much younger than the one in the front. Right, so we get the Boobal hartebeest, the red hartebeest, the Coates hartebeest in the Mara, the Liechtenstein hartebeest you'll find in Zambia. I think the Swain's hartebeest, no idea where you find that. Oh, Ethiopia, there you are. The Jackson's hartebeest, I don't know where you find that one. Let me look at it quickly. Mount Kenya area. And it significantly resembles the Lelwell hartebeest, which is from Lake Vic. No, yeah, that's in a similar area, Mount Kenya. So lots of different kinds, at least 5 different subspecies, which I think is quite fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, some say as many as 9. One of which is, the Bubal hartebeest is in fact was declared extinct in 1994. That's sad. So we have left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The red hartebeest, the Coke's hartebeest, the Lelwell, the Liechtensteins, the Niger or Western High hartebeest, which is found in Niger, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, so West Africa. The Swain's hartebeest, which is the Rift Valley in Ethiopia, and the Torah hartebeest, formerly in northwestern Ethiopia and now in Eritrea, probably, but its present status is unclear. Good, so that was the hartebeest. Now we're back at the elephants, at Tau. And there was a jackal here, and that's why we came through here. Anyway, we'll see if they pitch up again. Carol, you want to know, what about those little black critters running about? They're the guinea fowl, Carol. Those are the guinea fowl. A ground-dwelling game bird, I suppose you might call it. Yes, Linda Poley, I must confess that I agree with you here. You say there's so many different antelope species. You love them, but it's confusing. I find it confusing myself. And I live here. So I'm not vaguely surprised that you find it confusing living all the way in the United States. Yes, it is very confusing, especially as so many of them have so many different subspecies. There is a large male kudu. That's a magnificent bull kudu. And you'll notice how all of these animals have come down to have their drink once the elephants have moved off, because the elephants seldom take kindly to sharing their water with anyone else, which is not very kind of them. Very nice. 2 kudu bulls. Candy Ann, you want to know, Kennedy Ann, you want to know what determines a subspecies? Well, the taxonomy of various creatures used to be decided almost exclusively by their morphological differences. So somebody, a taxonomist, would chop them up, or just look at them initially, and then chop them up and, find all the differences. And elephants just rushing past there in their inimitable way. And so it would just be physical differences between the animals, and if they were sufficiently different, then they would be different species, and if they were even more different, then they'd be different genuses. Now, it's much more done with genetics. So they'll genetically test to see how closely related animals are, and once they're sufficiently different, then there will be designated a new taxon or group, so a different subspecies or a different species. Subspecies generally can interbreed with each other. I'm just going to interrupt myself there and say there is a black-backed jackal, which you can see center of your picture. So subspecies can interbreed with each other. So a red hartebeest and a Coke's hartebeest would produce a Roke's hartebeest. Not really, but it would definitely produce a hartebeest if their ranges overlapped. But animals in different genera, so a zebra, say, and a hartebeest would obviously not be able to interbreed. Sometimes animals, different species in the same genus, can interbreed and produce unviable offspring, such as horses and donkeys, which produce mules, or tigers and lions, which produce ligers, and they are not viable, they are sterile. But normally, different species would struggle to interbreed with each other, and certainly struggle to produce viable offspring. I hope that answers your question. That jackal looks like it's very wolfish as it moves slowly into the wilderness there at Tau. All right, everybody, what an action-packed afternoon it's been here on the Africam Show. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your questions and comments. We'll see you again at the same time, the same place next week. Until then, bye-bye.